Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky visited his troops in the Zaporizhzhia region today. This amid some major military setbacks on the southeastern front. Ukrainian troops were forced to retreat from positions in the area earlier this week, and now the city of Pokrovsk could soon fall entirely into Russian hands. President Zelensky is, at the same time, facing a major corruption scandal in the energy sector, while power outages continue to worsen across the country as a result of ongoing Russian strikes. Evelyn Farkas is the executive director of the McCain Institute, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia. Evelyn, good to have you.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to be here.
So, first of all, can you tell us the military significance of the loss of this town here? I mean, the amount of effort and fighting that's been focused on this town for weeks, and the enormous losses by Russian forces, many thousands of soldiers killed per week. Is this a strategic loss on that Eastern Front? Is it significant?
So I think it's significant, Jim, because it's a tactical loss, and I would argue probably an operational loss, because they're getting closer to a significant train hub that they could use for logistics purposes to get men and equipment in closer to where the Ukrainians are, where the fighting is. So that is problematic, make no mistake. But it's not a strategic defeat. It's similar to other towns you might remember in the summer at Kyiv and other towns that were taken, and they provided the Russians with another toehold, another very gradual move into Ukrainian frontline territory. So it's not good for the Ukrainians, but I wouldn't argue that it's going to change the tide of the war anytime soon.
At the same time, you have this quite significant political challenge for Zelensky. People very close to him who are accused of involvement in a massive corruption scandal, which has the added insult, right, of involving the energy sector in the midst of power blackouts that, of course, are the result of Russian attacks. How big of a problem is this for Zelensky, and is it potentially a threat to his power?
I don't think it's a threat to his power, Jim, because at the end of the day, Ukraine's in a state of war. According to their constitution, they can't have elections. And President Zelensky still has, I think, 60% of the Ukrainian people supporting him. Having said that, of course, this does put a dent, but it goes both ways, because when you discover corruption, it demonstrates, okay, number one, there's corruption, but it also demonstrates that the system of discovering, of investigating works. So in this case, the agencies that are charged with fighting corruption in Ukraine did meticulous work over the period of months. I think actually it was something like 15 months of work. They did what they were supposed to do. Now, some of the problem politically for President Zelensky is that he did try to interfere with these oversight boards and oversight agencies that are charged with rooting out corruption. The Ukrainian people and civil society went to the street, demonstrated, and he withdrew legislation that would have actually, in effect, taken a lot of power away from these institutions. So, you know, President Zelensky needs to really now side with the anti-corruption agencies definitively. He did side with them ultimately on the battle to, you know, curtail their power. That was several months ago. But now he needs to take swift action. He's taken some swift action already, because the problem is not just domestic. Obviously, the international community, Jim, needs to know that the money is not being diverted elsewhere, that the money is going where we are sending it.
Здоров'я, хлопці. Слава Україні! Героям слава! Маю честь сьогодні бути тут. Бажаю здоров'я. Дякую за службу. Дякую. Слава українському народу. Нашого солдата. Вітаю. Дякую. Дякую за службу. Служу народу України. Дякую.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌帮助了睡眠品质。 现在呢，进一步推出晚安加强版，添加了首创最适合台湾人体质的天然 GABA、色氨酸、茶氨酸、香蜂草4大天然草本助眠配方，强化睡眠全期都起到放松舒眠的效果。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它本身就含有台大专利授权克菲尔乳杆菌 M1 等8种专利菌，首创益生菌、益生元、后生元黄金3角配方，帮助维持消化道的机能。有季节敏感、代谢困扰、关心异常细胞风险的好朋友呢，可以选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有超级食物羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。选择太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，做好日常保养，实现睡眠自由，身体轻松无负担。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。